The ranger's last words were, "Don't stay here after dark." I've never talked about this before. Honestly, I've tried to forget it. But some things, they don't stay buried. It happened in the Cascade Mountains, August 2022. I remember the date because my friend Jake and I had been planning the trip for months. It was supposed to be one last escape before we both started new jobs. We wanted something off-grid, remote. No service, no Instagram check-ins, just our REI gear, our old Costco tent, a Yeti cooler full of snacks and a bottle of bourbon for the nights. It was supposed to be perfect. We parked at a small trailhead near Hannigan Pass, barely a car in sight. We hiked about 6 miles in and pitched camp near a stream. No signs, no people, no sounds except the wind in the pines and the occasional crunch of forest creatures. I remember Jake grinning, saying, "This is it, man, fucking heaven." The first weird thing didn't even feel weird at first. That night, after we'd had a few drinks and were roasting marshmallows, we saw a small flicker of light through the trees, like another campfire, maybe a half-mile away. We shrugged it off, figured some other campers had gone off trail, like us. But there was something odd about it. No smoke, no voices, no flickering changes, just a single low burning light. Jake wanted to go check it out. I said no. It was late, dark. We were drunk. He pushed a bit, but I told him to chill, and he let it go. We stayed up another hour, and the light eventually vanished. The second night, I swear to God I heard breathing outside the tent. Not the rustling of branches. Breathing. Slow, shallow, inches from the tent wall near my head. I froze. Jake was already snoring. I didn't say a word, just held my breath, waiting. The breathing stopped after a few minutes. I stayed awake the rest of the night, clutching the pocket knife I kept in my sleeping bag. In the morning, I found something worse. Not far from the tent, someone had stuck a twig into the dirt, and on top of it, a strip of bacon from our cooler. Just one piece, perfectly skewered, still cold. That's when I started freaking out. Jake tried to laugh it off, said maybe a raccoon got into our stuff and dragged it out. But that didn't make sense. Nothing else was touched. Everything else was zipped up in the cooler. And why would a raccoon stick bacon on a twig? Still, we convinced ourselves it was some weird animal behavior. We went on a short hike that day, nothing strenuous, and I kept looking back, feeling watched. When we got back to camp that evening, our tent had been moved. Not far, just maybe 2 feet to the left, but it was unmistakable. The stakes had been pulled up and re-driven. The dirt was fresh. Jake looked spooked then. He stopped making jokes. He asked if I thought someone was messing with us. I didn't answer. We barely slept that night. No fire, no drinks, just silence and fear. Around midnight, Jake nudged me. "Listen," he whispered. At first, I didn't hear anything. Then crunch, a single slow step. Then another, something circling the tent. We didn't dare move. I was gripping the knife again, heart thudding so loud I was sure it could be heard. Whatever it was, it didn't say anything, just walked, slowly, around and around. Then silence. We stayed in that tent until daylight. When we finally crawled out, there were fresh boot prints, not hiking boots, military style, deep tread, big size. But it gets worse. because just down the trail, maybe 30 yards from our camp, someone had carved into a tree deep, jagged letters, "We see you." Jake wanted to pack up and leave right then. I said no, not because I wasn't scared, but because I knew instinctively that moving in daylight wouldn't make a difference. Whoever, or whatever, was doing this. They weren't trying to chase us away. They were playing with us. And the game had just started. We broke camp in dead silence that morning. No jokes, no music, no breakfast. Just stuffing gear into our packs as fast as we could. I think we both believed the same thing but didn't want to say it out loud. That someone had been watching us since we got here. Not from a distance, from close. Jake kept glancing at the tree line, gripping the bear spray in one hand, like that would do anything against a person with a sick mind. I had my knife in my boot, and every time a twig snapped or the wind shifted, I nearly jumped out of my skin. We decided to hike back toward the trailhead, but not the same way we came. Too exposed, too easy to get followed. Jake had a topo map he bought from REI and thought we could cut through a side ravine that would link back to the main path in about 5 miles. No trail, just wild terrain. I agreed without hesitation. Big mistake. The terrain was brutal, steep, overgrown, full of loose shale and thorny branches. We didn't speak much except for warning each other about footing. Every now and then, we stopped and listened. Nothing. No birds, no bugs, not even the wind. It was too quiet, oppressively quiet, like the forest itself was holding its breath. About 2 hours in, Jake stopped dead and pointed. Something was tied to a tree ahead of us, about shoulder height. We approached slowly. It was a rabbit. Dead, split open, hung from a branch with fishing line, guts dangling. Its eyes were gone. Not eaten, just gone, like someone had taken them. I turned and puked. Jake just stood there, breathing hard through his nose, his hands trembling. When I looked at him, his face was pale, but his eyes were furious. He muttered, "Sick fucks." We pushed on, faster, not even trying to be quiet anymore. But something was wrong. The light started changing, too fast. It wasn't even noon and it looked like dusk. Everything was washed in this weird greyish hue. I checked my phone, but of course, no signal, no time, no GPS. Then came the second mistake. We found what looked like a man-made trail, narrow, barely used, but definitely intentional. Someone had cleared it. Fresh prints, snapped branches, even a broken REI water bottle tucked into a bush, like it had been dropped or left. Jake wanted to follow it, thinking it might lead to a ranger cabin or fire tower. I didn't want to. I begged him not to. But he started walking anyway, so I followed. We hiked that path for maybe half a mile when we saw the cabin. It looked abandoned, slumped and rotting, like it had been forgotten decades ago. One side of the roof was caved in. The windows were black. No smoke, no light. But the door, it wasn't fully closed. Just cracked, like someone had left in a hurry. Jake whispered, "We should check it, just to see if there's a map." Radio. Anything. My gut screamed at me. Every cell in my body told me not to go in there. But Jake had already crossed the threshold. Inside was worse. It smelled like mildew and piss. The floor creaked like it would collapse with each step. There were old cans stacked on a shelf, rusted shut. A cot torn down the middle, and something else. A logbook. Jake picked it up, flipping through the yellowed pages. Then he froze. His hands went still. "Dude," he whispered, "these aren't ranger logs. What are you talking about?" He handed it to me. I flipped to the last entry. It was scrawled in pencil, shaky handwriting. "They come at night. They laugh outside. I tried to leave, but the trail never ends. I buried her by the stream. She wouldn't stop screaming. I had to. I had to. If someone finds this, don't stay here after dark. Don't trust the lights, they wear faces." That last line didn't even make sense. We looked at each other, then at the open door. That's when we heard it. Footsteps outside, slow, deliberate. Then a voice, soft, raspy. "Jake." We both froze. The voice came again, this time from the other side of the cabin. "Jake, where'd you go?" But it wasn't my voice. It was close, but off. Like someone trying to copy me, but getting the tone just a little too high, too slow, almost mocking. Jake's face drained of all color. Another voice joined in. This one sounded like his. "Hey man, come out. I found something cool." I shook my head violently. "That's not me," I whispered. "You know that's not me." He nodded, slowly. We backed toward the rear of the cabin. There was a rotted window we could probably bust through. Another voice outside, closer. "You shouldn't have come here." A dry giggle. "I told you not to stay after dark." Jake didn't wait. He slammed his foot into the window frame and we both tumbled out into thick brush behind the cabin. I sliced my arm on something rusty. Didn't care. Just ran. We didn't look back. We ran until our lungs gave out. Collapsed behind a fallen log, panting, bleeding, shaking. And from somewhere behind us, just out of sight, we heard that same voice again. "Jake, I see you." We didn't talk. We just ran. We ran until the forest blurred past us, until my legs gave out and I tripped over a root and went face first into the dirt. My face hit something hard and for a second all I saw was black. When I came to, Jake was dragging me by my backpack strap, breathing like he was about to vomit, his face soaked in sweat. "We're being herded," he gasped. "What?" He didn't stop. "They're pushing us. Not chasing. Pushing." I didn't know what he meant until I looked around. Same damn rabbit. Same fucking tree. Split open, guts out, eyes missing. We'd come full circle. Somehow. "No," I said, my voice cracked. "No, that's not possible. We never turned around." Jake didn't answer. He just dropped to his knees and screamed into the dirt. Just one raw, guttural scream. Then he was quiet. That's when we saw it. Another tent. About 100 yards away through the trees, bright blue, brand new, not like ours. And a lantern still hanging inside, swaying gently. We should have turned around. Instead, we moved toward it, slow, silent, every step deliberate. I don't know what we were thinking. Maybe we were desperate. Maybe we thought it was another group, someone who could help. The moment we got within 20 feet, we knew something was wrong. There was no gear around the tent, no cooler, no packs, no fire pit, no clotheslines, no chairs, just a tent, Jake whispered. No one camps like that. No one camps that clean. He took a few more steps. I reached for his shoulder to stop him, but it was too late. He unzipped the flap and looked inside. He didn't scream. He didn't say a word. He just stepped back, like he was about to puke, and sat down hard on the forest floor. I looked. Inside were 2 sleeping bags, both unzipped, both laid out neatly, and in the center of the tent, stacked like fucking firewood, teeth, dozens of human teeth, maybe hundreds, sorted by size, canines, molars, incisors, some clean, some with scraps of gum still clinging to them. In the far corner, carved into the tent's nylon wall, was a message in what looked like dried blood. You're next. I dropped the flap and stumbled backward. My stomach turned, but nothing came out. Jake just sat there, staring at the ground, mumbling something over and over. I leaned in to hear him. They wear faces. They wear faces. It was the logbook. He was repeating what it said. I slapped him, not hard, just enough to snap him out of it. We're leaving, I said. Now. He nodded, but his eyes were empty. We ditched the weird trail and pushed straight west. Compass said that should eventually lead us to the main road. We weren't trying to follow logic anymore. We were just trying to escape. Then we saw him. A man. Standing between 2 trees, maybe 30 feet away. Still as a statue. Head cocked slightly. Wearing what looked like a ranger uniform. But the badge was wrong. It was too big and shiny, like it had been made. Not issued. Jake called out, "Hey, sir, please, can you help us? We're lost and we..." The man didn't move. Jake stepped forward. "Sir, please, we're not armed. We just need to get out." That's when I saw it. His face. Too smooth. Too perfect. No expression. No blinking. It was a mask. Not like a COVID mask or Halloween mask. A full-face replica of a human face. Like it had been peeled off and stretched tight. I swear to God I saw the fucking stitches. I grabbed Jake and pulled him down. "Run," I whispered. "Don't look back." But we didn't even make it 20 yards before we heard the laugh. High-pitched, croaky, like a child pretending to be a grown-up. It echoed through the trees. Then more voices, mimicking us. "Sir, please." "We're not armed," mocking us, from every direction. That's when Jake lost it. He screamed and charged toward the noise. Disappeared into the woods. I ran after him. Branches tore at my face, something sliced my leg open. I didn't care. I kept running, shouting his name over and over. Finally, I saw him. On the ground, face down, not moving. I dropped to my knees, rolled him over, and stopped breathing. It wasn't Jake. It was someone wearing his clothes. Same jacket, same boots. But the face was wrong, flattened, loose around the edges. A mask, poorly sewn. I backed away, trembling, whispering his name like a prayer. And then, behind me, a whisper, my voice. "Hey man, I found something cool." I ran. I didn't even think, just bolted. No idea where I was going, didn't care. My lungs burned, my legs were jelly. Branches slapped my face, ripped at my shirt. I could hear them behind me, laughing, mimicking, stomping after me in uneven, staggering footsteps. One of them shouted, "Slow down, Jake!" And I swear to God it was my voice again. Not just the tone, my actual rhythm, my sarcasm, my fucking inflections. I didn't stop until I tripped over a root and crashed headfirst into a mossy log. The world spun. I tasted blood. My left eye throbbed with heat. Everything went black for a second. When I opened my eyes, it was darker. I don't mean the sun had gone down. I mean the woods around me had changed. The trees looked wrong, twisted, close together like they were leaning in to whisper. The air was thick, humid, almost wet. I sat up, dazed, disoriented. Couldn't tell what direction I'd come from. My leg was bleeding. Deep gash across the shin. I tied it off with my flannel, muttering to myself to stay awake, stay moving. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Close. Slow. Not a run. A walk. Deliberate. Crunch. 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 I ducked behind a tree, held my breath. The footsteps stopped. Then came the voice. Low, gravelly, human. "I saw you earlier, with your friend." He screamed like a pig. Silence. I like it when they scream. Makes it more personal. I pressed my hand against my mouth. My body was shaking uncontrollably. Then came another voice, younger, faster, jittery. Let me cut him first, he looks soft." More silence. Then a third voice, giggling, playful. "I bet he's warm inside." That's when I saw them. 3 of them, emerging from the trees like fucking shadows peeling off bark. They were dressed like campers. Mismatched gear, Walmart hoodie on one, army surplus pants on another. One even had an REI badge duct taped to his chest like it meant something. But their faces, God. One had a face too tight, like it had been dried out and glued on. Another had just smeared mud over his skin like a mask, his eyes wide, unblinking. The last had no face at all, just a burlap sack with 2 slits. They weren't right. Not mentally, not human in the way we think of human. The tight-faced one sniffed the air. "He's close," he said. "I can smell the fear." The other giggled again. "I want his teeth." I held my breath so long I thought I'd pass out. They moved past me, too focused, too eager. Not checking behind the tree I was crouched against. I waited, counted to 60, then ran the opposite direction. Slower this time, stealthier, keeping to the underbrush, checking every step, every shadow. Eventually I found a stream, fast-moving, cold. I followed it. Why? No clue. It just felt right. Streams lead somewhere. Civilization, roads, anything. That's when I found the grave. A shallow pit, half collapsed. And inside, bones. Small ones. Kids' bones. I staggered backward, fell into the mud, scrambled away. My hand landed on something solid. A boot. Jake's boot. Still laced, still warm, still attached to a severed foot. I screamed then, loud, didn't care anymore. That's when I heard another sound. A voice, female, soft. "Hey, over here." I turned wild-eyed. It was a woman, blonde, pale, dressed in hiking gear, but filthy. Her lips were cracked, eyes sunken. She looked half dead. "You have to move," she whispered. "They're close." "Who are you?" Her face twitched. "Been out here for days, weeks. I don't know. They don't kill quick. They break you." I stumbled forward. "Please, help me get out. Please." She nodded. "But you have to promise me something. Anything." "If they catch us," she said, eyes locked to mine, "kill me first. Don't let them take me again." That's when I saw the brands on her arms, letters burned into her skin. Property, B3. She turned and ran. I followed. We didn't stop for miles until the sun began to set, and in the distance through the trees we saw it. A road, paved, and a sign. Ranger Station, 3 miles. We both started crying, but as we approached the path that would lead us down the slope to the road, something glinted in the dirt. I bent down. It was a wallet, Jake's, still zipped. I picked it up, and tucked inside was a note, written in handwriting that looked just like mine. "Why didn't you run faster?" We reached the Ranger Road as the sky dimmed into that soulless grey-blue blur that comes before total black. I didn't say it, but I was terrified the road would disappear or loop or be another one of their traps. Like everything else in those fucking woods. The woman, Mara, she finally told me her name, was limping. Her ankle was swollen and she was clearly in shock. But she wouldn't stop. Kept whispering to herself, "Don't stop. Don't sit. They wait for that." The ranger station came into view like a hallucination. A small concrete structure, the kind you pass on the side of the road without thinking. An American flag torn in half flapped limply from a pole. One outdoor light flickered above the door, casting weak shadows across the gravel. We practically fell into the door. It was open. No lock, no barricade, just open. Inside was dead silent. Old radio equipment, a corkboard full of faded missing person flyers, a map pinned up on the wall with a thumbtack stuck near where we probably were, and a desk. Mara went straight to the radio, shaking hands, slapping dials. Nothing. Static, crackle. Then a voice, faint, warbled but real. "Hello, come in. Report if..." Mara cried out. "Hello, we need help. Please, we're at the..." The radio went dead, then hissed, then something else. A voice, familiar, too familiar. It whispered my name 3 times, slow, grinning. I yanked the plug, threw the fucking thing on the floor. Mara collapsed against the wall, sobbing. I moved to the map, scanning it like I could decode some hidden path to salvation. That's when I saw it, faint, etched into the wall just beside the pinned paper. Looked like it had been scratched with a blade. "Don't trust the station. They watch from inside." Suddenly, every sound in that room felt wrong. Every creak, every distant echo. I turned back to Mara. She wasn't sobbing anymore. She was smiling, wide. Her eyes were still crying, but her lips were stretched too far, like skin pulling tight against a mask. "Do you feel safe now?" she asked. I backed away. "Mara..." Her voice changed. Not drastically, just subtly, like she was letting something else into it. "You left him, you know," she said. "You left Jake screaming in the woods. You ran." I didn't respond. She stepped forward. "He begged for you over and over. Wait for me, man. Don't leave me, bro." My blood ran cold. "I didn't leave him," I said. He ran off first." She cut me off. "But he didn't die right away." I reached for the chair near the desk and held it between us like a shield. Her smile twitched. Then she started laughing. Not her laugh, my laugh. Mocking, cruel. And then, just as suddenly, she collapsed. No sound, just down, like someone cut her strings. I rushed to her, checked her pulse. She was breathing. Passed out, maybe. That's when I heard the knock. From inside the station. Not the door, not the windows. Underneath. 3 knocks. From beneath the floorboards. I jumped back. More knocking. 4, 5. Then it stopped. And I heard breathing. Heavy. Guttural. Right beneath where I stood. I looked around the floor. Nothing obvious. Then, behind the desk, I saw a trapdoor. No lock, no handle. Just a ring latch. I didn't want to open it. I really didn't. But then Mara stirred. She groaned, eyes fluttering open, and whispered, "Don't let them out." I froze. Then she screamed, "Don't let them out!" I backed away from the trapdoor, but it opened anyway, by itself, slowly. A pale hand emerged, thin, long fingers, fingernails crusted with dirt. Then another, then the head. It was wearing a face, Jake's, but the eyes weren't his. They were black, swollen, blood vessels dancing behind the irises like worms. The thing looked up at me and whispered, "You promised you'd wait." I threw the chair at it and grabbed Mara. She was screaming, crying. I dragged her to the door. Outside, the woods were darker than night. The sky was gone, just black, but I didn't care. I ran, down the road, carrying her weight. Behind me, the radio turned back on, static. Then a voice, the ranger's voice, gravelly, slow. His last words, "Don't stay here after dark." We ran until my legs buckled. Mara had gone limp in my arms, unconscious again, or maybe worse. I didn't check. I couldn't. I just kept dragging her down the cracked asphalt path, lit by nothing but a dying headlamp clipped to my shoulder strap. The trees on either side leaned in, thicker than they should have been, like the forest was trying to swallow the road. I kept glancing behind me. That thing, Jake's face thing, wasn't chasing us. Not loud, at least, but I could feel it. The same way you know someone's staring at you through a cracked door. The deeper into the night we went, the more the road began to change. The lines were gone. The gravel shifted underfoot like it had been turned over. And then I saw them. Tents. Dozens of them, lining the woods on both sides of the road, all identical. Cheap Walmart pop-ups. Some collapsed, some slashed open, others perfectly neat, too neat, like someone had posed them for an audience that never came. Mara stirred. She opened her eyes, saw them, and immediately started hyperventilating. "No, not here. Not this place. Not the camp, she whimpered. It's their harvest zone. What the hell are you talking about? I hissed. They leave these up, like lures, for people, campers, hikers, anyone who's tired. You rest, you stay, you don't leave. I stepped around the first tent, trying not to look inside, but I did, and I wish I hadn't. There were 3 sleeping bags. Inside them were skins, empty skins, not bloody, not ripped, just vacated, like someone had unzippered their body and crawled out. My knees went weak. I nearly dropped Mara. That's when I heard the laugh again, same as before, but now it echoed from every tent. High, low, fast, slow, a chorus of laughter that sounded like us. Jake, me, Mara. Other voices, twisted imitations, then singing. Children's voices, a broken tune, off key. In the woods so dark and deep, we find the ones who never sleep. I snapped, screamed into the forest. What do you want? The laughter stopped. A single voice replied, right behind me. We want to be you. I spun. There was nothing. Then Mara grabbed my wrist. Her voice was calm, dead calm. We're not getting out. You know that, right? No, I said. No, there's a road. We're close. I can feel it. She didn't respond. We walked in silence another mile. 2. I don't know. My watch had stopped. My phone was dead. My body felt like it was being held together by panic alone. Then, suddenly, headlights, real ones. Coming up the road, a ranger truck. I didn't even think. I sprinted into the middle of the road, waving both arms, screaming. The truck screeched to a halt. The ranger jumped out. Late 50s, grey moustache, worn face, real uniform. What the hell are you doing out here? He barked. Are you hurt? Jesus, who is that? I collapsed. Couldn't answer. He helped us into the truck. I kept looking at his face. Every detail, trying to find stitches, trying to find seams. But there were none. He looked real. He drove us out. Hours passed. The sun finally began to rise. He brought us to a small ranger outpost. Different one. On the edge of the park. They gave us food. Blankets. A medic checked Mara. She was alive. Barely speaking. I told them everything. The tents, the faces, the trapdoor, the laughing. They didn't believe me, not really, but they humoured me. Logged it, said they'd look into it. I begged the ranger who picked us up to listen. I told him everything I saw. He listened, nodded slowly, then said something I'll never forget. I told him years ago they need to burn that sector down, seal it off, make it disappear. But they said no, said it's good for tourism. What the hell does that mean? I asked. He lit a cigarette. Hand shook a little. Not everyone who comes to the Cascades is looking to be found, he muttered. Some places don't want you to leave. He looked at me dead on and added, that part of the forest, it remembers things, and it borrows people. Then he walked off. Mara never spoke to me again, vanished a few weeks later. No record, no forwarding address. Jake's body was never found. But 2 months ago, I went back on Google Maps, just to look. The trailhead we used, it's gone, like it was never there. But if you zoom in, just right. You can see something tucked in the trees. A tent, bright blue, still zipped up, still waiting, end.